are you tired of playing your piano accompaniments in a very amateur sounding way? Well, if you want your accompaniment to sound more professional, in today's quick tip, I'm going to teach you how to get that pro accompaniment sound in only 6 steps. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, the chord progression that we're going to be looking at is a very simple chord progression in the key of F, all right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first show you the way a lot of amateurs would play this, and then we're going to develop it into the pro level sound. Okay, so the 2 chords that you really need to know for this chord progression are B flat major, we play it like this, and this is called the 4 chord in the key of F. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? It's just a simple major chord. And then we go down to the 1 chord in the key of F, which is an F major chord. Okay, so this is the basis of this particular chord progression, and it's a very important chord progression to learn because it's used in lots of different tunes. Now, if you're enjoying this lesson, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for more videos just like this. All right, so now that you have these 2 chords, how would an amateur pianist accompany using these chords? Well, they might play something like this. A very basic kind of pop groove. Basically on the B flat chord, I'm kind of doubling the F here, and then on the F chord, I'm doubling the C on the bottom there. Okay, so kind of a little bit more interesting sounding chords, and then I'm doing a basic pop groove. 1, 2, 3, 4, which sounds okay, but it sounds very amateur, and there's a lot more interesting way of playing a chord progression like this. And this is the next step. How do we get that pro sound? Okay, here's the first step. You should use inversions when you're playing a chord progression like this. And when I say inversions, I mean 2 different things. First, you should play inversions in the right hand. So instead of going to an F major like this, we're going to use what's called a first inversion F major, like this in the right hand. So we're just changing the order of notes. The second thing that's also really nice to do is to change the inversion in your left hand. So instead of going B flat major down to an F where the root's on the bottom, it's really nice to go. Isn't that beautiful? So now on my F chord, instead of going down to that root, I'm going to use a first inversion F major chord on the bottom, okay? And this creates a really nice bass line. Bum, 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 bum. It's a little bit more interesting than the bass line jumping B flat to F, B flat to F. All right, let's go ahead and play this with the included backing track. Here's the backing track at 85 BPM. Here we go. All right, you're sounding great on this. By the way, this lesson comes with 3 downloadable backing tracks. You can practice this at different tempos. You can also download the lesson sheet music you're seeing up here on the top left of the screen. I'll put a link to both of those below. All right, so what's the next step? Well, now that we're using chord inversions, the next step is to add some chord substitutes. And there's 1 chord in this progression that's really nice to substitute, and that is your B flat major chord. A lot of pro musicians will swap out that bass note B flat for a G. And it creates a really cool chord called the G minor 7 chord. Now, if you don't know your minor 7 chords, that's all right. You can learn them in our minor 7 chords course at pianowithjonny.com. I'll put a link to that below. So let's go ahead and use this G minor 7 chord in this chord progression. We're going to start with the first chord, B flat major, go to our F over A, really nice. And then instead of going back to the B flat major, we're going to use the G minor 7 chord like that. And all we're doing is we're just changing the bottom note. Before we had a B flat major, now we're just swapping out the bottom note. And it sounds way cooler now. Instead of going B flat to F and then back to B flat, we're going to go. And what this does is it creates a way more interesting bass line. Now the bass line's going dum, 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 dum. That's way cooler than going B flat, F, B flat. flat, F. So once again, you want to consider your bass line when you're using chord substitutes. All right, before we move on to step 3, if you want to learn more chord substitutes that you can use in a progression like this, check out our passing chords and reharmonization course. I'll put a link to that below. All right, step 3 is to take your harmony to the next level, and this is to use what are called sus2 chords. Now, so far, when we play our chords like B flat major to F, we're using basically normal major chords, B flat major, F major. But there is a way cooler way of playing your major chords, and that is to turn them into sus2 chords. Doesn't that sound way cooler than just playing your normal major chords? So here's what we're doing. We're taking our B flat major chord we played like that earlier, and we're taking that third, that D, and we're moving it down a whole step to the C. Okay? This creates what's called a sus2 chord. It's a B flat sus2 chord. And then you can do it on the F. Instead of playing F major, we play an F sus2 chord. We're moving that third, that A, down a whole step to G, okay? So you kind of need to understand how these chords work. That's a B flat sus2 down to an F sus2, okay? So now let's go ahead and use these chords with these chord inversions, okay? So B flat sus2 will play like that. F sus2, we're gonna play like that, okay? And all we're doing is we're taking that A, which we had before, and we're moving it down a whole step to G, and it gives it a way cooler sound, okay? Now, here's another really cool trick you can use, which is to play your B flat sus2 with the G in the bass. Ooh, that is gorgeous, okay? And basically what's happening here is instead of playing what's called a G minor 7 chord, we're actually playing a really fancy chord called a G minor 11 chord. Now, if the theory is going over your head, don't worry, you will start to understand chords like 11th chords. This is called a chord extension chord, and if you want to learn more about chord extensions, you can in our chord extensions course. I'll put a link to that below as well, okay? So that's a G minor 11 chord, beautiful, and then F add 2 over A, or F sus2 over A, okay? So this is kind of the new way of playing the chord progression. Let's do a little jam on this with the backing track. Here it is. Here we go. Are you having fun? I'm having a great time showing this to you, and I'm so excited for you because you're ready for step number 4, which is to make it sound a little bit more rhythmic. This is really where you start to get more of that pro sound because you get more of that driving groove, okay? So what we're gonna look at is the right hand, and what we wanna do is we want to increase the rhythmic frequency of the right hand. Before we went one, which is a very, again, sort of amateur way of playing the rhythm on the chords, but a lot cooler way is to play it like this. So for the most part, the left hand is the same. I'm just going 1, 2, and 3. But in the right hand, I'm going. You see that rhythm? I'll count it out for you. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And then you do it on the rest of the chords. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Does that make sense? So you want to get this basic rhythm. Let's do it once really slowly, and then we'll play it with the track. Here it is. 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Okay, you want to speed that up. Let's go ahead and play this with the backing track. We're going to use the slower backing track so we can nail this rhythm. Here we go. right, it's sounding a lot more professional, and what we're gonna do next in step number 5 is we're gonna add some groove to the left hand. And this is where you really get that professional sound, because now the hands are sort of doing a dance with each other and they sound really, really cool. So how does this left hand go? Well, I call this the left hand single note driver, okay? And this is a very important thing if you want to accompany at a pro level and you want that driving sound, is it's really nice to take one note from your chord and let that drive the fundamental rhythm. You see how that F is sort of driving all of the chords? This is going to be our single note driver. It's very, very important to use. So here's the rhythm that you really need to know for the left hand. It goes like this. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Okay? This is your driver. I don't care what chords you're using. This is the rhythm that you're going to use on this single note driver, okay? So practice that rhythm, make sure it's solid. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Once you have that, let's put the hands together. Here it is nice and slowly. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E. 3 E and a 4 E and a. Okay, so you're going to want to speed that up, and let's go ahead and play this with the slower backing track. Here we go. All right, before I teach you the final step, if you enjoyed playing this groove, you can learn more grooves just like this in our pop accompaniment patterns courses. I'll put a link to those below. All right, step number 6 is a ton of fun. Basically, so far, we're playing our accompaniment in what I would call kind of a lower position of the piano, but it's very nice when you're playing an accompaniment to move around the piano. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm going to teach you how to use this technique in what I call the upper position, okay? So the chords you need to know here are B flat, add 2. We're kind of spreading the notes out of that B flat chord, and now we're actually adding the 2 to the 3rd, so we call it a B flat, add 2. F, add 2 over A, lovely chord, I love this one. G minor 11, we're going to play it like that. Super nice chord. And then back to our F, add 2 over A. Let's go ahead and play this groove with the backing track. Here we go. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this lesson, be sure to check out pianowithjonny.com. We have over 900 step-by-step lessons in pop, jazz, blues, theory, technique, improvisation. It's the full learning platform for all playing levels. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.